Okay. Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you are well and safe in this pandemic period and observing SOPs. So, like they have said before, I'm Allan Ninyesiga. Most of you know me, I don't need to introduce again. And I'll be taking you through Python crash course for deep learning in IndabaX Uganda 2021. I hope I'm loud and clear.
Yes, you are.
Okay. So Python, in this course, whether you are an experienced programmer or not, this tutorial that we've designed is intended for everyone who wishes to learn Python programming language and use it for deep learning. And the tutorial does not attempt to be comprehensive and cover every single feature or even commonly used features. Instead, it gives an introduction of many Python most worthy features and will give you a good idea of language's flavor and style. So after this tutorial, you will be able to read and write Python modules and programs, and you'll be ready to learn more about various Python library module. So those who have no any skill in Python programming, do not get scared by this tutorial. Just to know that today you are going to get skills in Python programming and you'll be the best machine learning developer by the end of this conference. So tools that we are going to use Anaconda. If you haven't installed Anaconda, you can go online and download Anaconda for Python programming and install it. After installing Anaconda, you run Jupyter Notebooks. The Jupyter Notebook is this platform that I'm using, where we are going to be writing our codes. So it is easier to learn how to use Jupyter Notebooks. All the documentations are there on Anaconda platform. In case you have challenges in installing and downloading Anaconda later, you will get to me and I help you. So first things first, we need first to understand what is Python and why Python. Python, in simple terms, is an interpreted, object-oriented, high-level programming language with dynamic semantics. It has been commonly used in very many aspects. In fact, that's what most of the machine learning experts are going to be using here for deep learning. So Python, we use it because of certain reasons. That because of being a high-level language, being an object-oriented language, and an interpreted language. And it is simple. So no one should lie you that Python is hard. Easy to learn with syntax, emphasizes reusability, and therefore reduces the cost of program performance. Its high level built-in data structures make it also very attractive for rapid application development, as well as use of scripting or glue language to connect existing components together. So Python has been used in various aspects when you want to connect existing components of different systems together, and it supports rapid application development. Python supports modules and packages, which encourages program modularity and code reuse. All in all, it's also free and open source. You don't need to purchase Python. So with these reasons, that's why Python is a good programming language for you that you shouldn't miss learning or using in deep learning or in other aspects. So topics that are going to be covered here are simple Python data structures. Those are data types. We understand these numbers, strings, printing those numbers and strings, list data structure, which is a most commonly used data structure when it comes to data science. Tuples, sets, dictionaries also is the most commonly used data structure, and Booleans expression. Then we go into other intermediate Python components or language components, which are comparison operators, the condition statements, that's the control flow, which contains if, else if statements, and then looping of the program, where we are going to look at different kinds of loops, like a for loop, while loop, and the range function. Then we look at list comprehension, where we will start the easiest way of running programs in a list, which reduces the size and the processing power of the program. We look at the functions or methods, Lambda expressions, map and filter functions, and other methods in Python. So let's start with data types. A data type, in simple terms, is a classification or categorization of data items, which represents the kind of value that tells what operation can perform on a particular data. A data type can be numeric. Numeric data types are numbers. Our numbers like 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, etc. So these are integer types. If you put 1 plus 1, 1 plus 2, or 1 plus 4, and you run the program, it gives an answer that is 5. Those of you who don't understand, or who have never used Python at all, or Jupyter notebooks, when you write a program here, if you want it in a Python code mode, it has to be in code here. It has to be in code. If you run your program, you click in that cell where your program is, and then you click run. So a minute, please, a minute. Okay, we are back. Sorry about that. So 1 plus 4, then you run your program in that cell, which gives us 5. Then that is addition. Multiplication 2, and we use star, which is a multiplication. 2 times maybe 5. When you run, you get 10. 3 divided by 2, which is a division. We get a floating number, which is 1.5. So this is a floating number. These were integers, and this is a floating number. A floating number, they are numbers which are decimals. So the same, we can say 3.7 plus 9.9, and you run, then you get the floating point number, which is 13.00. So then square or a power, we use double star. So 2 star star 3, it means 2 to power 3, which gives us 8. If we add a new cell here, a new cell by clicking plus, if you want to add a new cell, and they go in the previous cell, and you click plus, it gets us to the new cell. So it says 2 star star 2, and you run, it gives us 2 to power 2, which is for 2 squared. Then we have also another operator, which is called modulus. Modulus, it gives us a remainder when you divide 2 numbers. So 5 modulus 2, it gives us 1 remainder 1. This modulus operator helps us mostly when we want to know whether a number is odd or a number is even. Okay. So if I want to know if the number is odd, that means like 4 modulus 2, it gives me a remainder of 0. That means that the number here is odd. Okay. So multiplying different numbers or working on different operations in Python programming, we advise that we use parentheses so that you can easily understand what you are working on exactly. Like 4 plus 3 times 10 minus 7, it gives us 21. So if we had not used parentheses, somebody would say 4 plus 3 times 10 minus 7, something like that. So if we run that, it gives us 27. So Python automatically will follow the body mass concept. So you may be expecting 21, and then you get 27, which makes it a logical error. So in case you have to make sure you use parentheses so that you get an intended output when you are programming. They are very, very important when you are dealing with mathematical or statistical operations. So here we were dealing directly with numbers and operators, but we have something called a variable, which we can use to assign our values. For example, here where we said 4 and 2, 4 can be a value which is held by a certain variable, then 2 also can be a value held by a certain variable. So, for example here, number of variable, name of variable, we say 2. Or we can say x equals 4, y equals 5. Then we say a variable z equals x plus y, which makes is when we print z, we get that value of x, which is 4, plus the value of y, which is 5, and we get 9. So names of these variables, make sure when you are naming the variables, name them in line with what you want to achieve. A variable cannot start with a number. You cannot say maybe one number, okay, equals 2. If you say that, if you run this, okay, it will tell you a syntax error. The good thing with Python language, it will give you the error directly and show you where the error is. So you can see this caret, which is pointing here at 1, so that the error is here, 1 num. So like we've said, the variable name cannot start with 1 or a special character like and, okay, like the dollar sign. Those are not allowed. And the good thing with Jupyter Notebook also, something that is not required, you can see it changes its color here, okay? So that is not advisable in Python or variable naming. So if I want to write a program, for example, adding 2 numbers, I should at least say num1 equals 20, num2 equals 30. Then I say total equals num1 plus num2. Okay. Then if I print total, I run the program, I get the total. So you can see here, a person who is reading this program can easily understand that I was adding numbers 1 and maybe the program was adding 2 numbers. So when you are creating variables, I advise that you choose the names of the variables which are in line with something you want to achieve, such that you can make the program readable for users who are learning. You should also comment your program. Put comments by hash, put the hash, and you put your comments of the program. The program to calculate sum of 2 numbers. Okay. So there you have a comment in your program which is not executed in here. Okay, so after that, we'll look at strings. Okay, a string data type is a text data type. So here we are dealing with text. Anything, a string you want to be output as a string, you put it in either a single quote or a double quote. You choose one. You can use double quotes or you can use a double quote, a single quote. So I can say my name equals single quote Allan Ninyesiga. So if I print name, I run, then it brings Allan Ninyesiga. So if I don't want it to be, so I can say print name. Python has a function already defined which is called print, which allows us to execute a certain output of a program. So if I print the name, if I print in bracket name, which is being declared here as a variable holding these variables as a string of my name, then I run this, then it prints me the exact name Allan Ninyesiga without these quotes. So if I have chosen double quotes, then it will also do the same. So you use what is convenient for you. Me, I like using single quotes. So if I add here then I say conference equals IndabaX UG 2021. So anything that we put under quotes, it will be printed as it is, okay? So even if this is a number, but since it is under quotes, automatically it is a string, okay? So if I say conference or print conference, it has to be the same name here. First run this one, then run this. Automatically it prints IndabaX UG. Then, so you can see if you want to check the type of a data type, so like this name or conference, I want to check the data type. Maybe I say type, then I pass in the name. Name is the variable of which is holding the name. When you run, you can say it's a str. Str means a string. If it was an integer, like we had seen here, z, which was an integer, if you say type z, if you are interested in knowing the type, then it says type is int, okay? So if you want to check the type of any data type or any variable, you use a function type, okay? And then it can tell you the type of okay. So someone in the chat is asking, can you talk about Python syntaxes which differentiate it from other programming language? Okay. So Python syntax here is more like English, okay? Is more readable like English, not like other languages which have a lot of codes which are not like English format. And Python has a simple statements and easy statements. For example, if you want to type your name, like name equals Allan Ninyesiga, or conference equals IndabaX. Here in Python, you just use one statement. And in other languages, you may need like 3 lines. If you have ever done C programming, you can go online also and check a difference between a Python print hello world example, and then in other languages, it may require you 5 or 4 lines for you to run a program. So Python also use statements like other languages. So these, you write statements, but the most important thing here is the indent, which we are going to look at when we are dealing with conditions. Yeah. So printing, like I said before, we have a greeting hello, a greeting, then you print greeting. So, and says hello. So as you can see, print is already a function there, which allows us to print a variable that is holding a string, a hello. So these are defined function already in Python, okay? So we are going to also learn on how can we write our own functions and can be used in Python. Okay, so we have, in printing, we can also have formatted printing. For example, if you have a variable name, Lynn, and a variable age, 12, So this is a string data type variable that is holding a variable len string, and this is an integer that data type age variable that is holding an integer 12. So if I want to format my output such that it looks like this, my name is Lynn and I am 12 years old, I simply say print. Then whatever I want here, I put in quotes, because I want that string to be printed like that. My name is bracket 1. I'm declaring a variable, and this variable is called is acting as an address, which will be referenced by this variable name. So is 1 brackets comma, if you see a comma, and I am 2, okay, years old. So after, at the end of the course, I say dot format. I use dot format method, bracket 1 equals name. So this one equals name here, Lynn. It's not that I can use only 1 and 1. I can use something else, maybe like X. I say X equals name, okay. Then I use Y, okay, and Y equals age, okay, age which is 12, okay. So when you run the program, it says my name is Lynn and I am 12 years old, okay. By default, you can put empty brackets. You may not need to declare this, okay. It will know that this name, so this is like a function which is calling what is here, and to know that by default there is name and there is age, which name which is coming first and it is going to go here, and age which is coming second, it will go here. So you can format output of your program by using dot format. So from the string data type, let's now go to a list data type or data structure. Lists are like arrays. I hope you are able to understand the previous before we go further in more complex scenarios. So a general purpose, most widely used data structure is a list. You will find a list being used mostly in data science and machine learning, because you need to slice data. You need to use different data. You will look at data slicing, where you need lists of data be sliced for your machine learning algorithms. Patrick Okoch, you're asking, can I say print my name is comma name? Yes, it works. Okay. Let me copy your chart and put it here. For example, I have name, which is Lynn. Let me run this name. And it says, can I say print? My name is comma. This is in fact is name. No. This is what you are saying. They're saying invalid syntax. Okay. Where are they saying they are putting this carry? So I think you say my name is okay, so you should put a comma here. So you can use this method if you're interested in this, or you can use this method. So Patrick, yours works, but you need to put a comma here, not a space. It will work for you. All right. So lists, a general purpose mostly used data structure, mutable. It's mutable. A list can grow, shrink as needed, or sorted. So a list, if you need to have a data type or structures of data that can grow and shrink, then you can use a list. A Python list allows you to store any variable types, floats, int, strings, even other lists. Okay. So, for example, a list, we put them in square brackets. This is a list of numbers. Okay, 1, 2, 3. We can have another list, maybe of like A of string B, comma C. Okay, so if you run this list, and it brings you a list of those string characters. So a list, we put them in square brackets. So like I said, a list can contain strings, can also contain numbers, 1, 2, 3, or a mix of different. So for example, this list contains a string apple, it contains an integer, and it contains another list itself, a list in other lists. Okay, so when you run this, you can see that it has different combination of data types. So if you have a list has very many methods where you can add, like we've said, it is mutable. You can add elements, you can remove elements, you can modify elements in the list, etc. So we have a list of fruits, for example, apples, oranges, and mangoes. If you print those fruits, you get apples, oranges, and mangoes. But I feel like in my list, I would like to add something, maybe passion, another fruit. So I just say fruit dot append passion, and it will be added. It will be added there. Okay. So let me run this. Fluids dot. Okay, if you say dot and press tab, it shows you different methods that you can use. So because of its being mutable, it gives you a chance to do various aspects on a list. It has functions or methods that are there. Append, we have seen. Clear, if you want to clear element in list. Copy, if you want to copy elements in the list to other list. Count, extend, index, insert. If you want to insert element at a specific index, I'm going to mention later how we access lists. We access lists in indices. If you want to pop an item out of list, if you want to remove an item, reverse or sort elements in the list. So these methods, if you press dot and you press tab, it gives you these methods. You can try all those methods when you are programming, and they will help you. Okay. So let's continue. If you need to check if the element is in the list, use the in. Okay. Apples in, you see apples were there. In fruits, it says true. If you say oats in fruits, it says false because it's not existing. So you can check whether the element exists in the list or not. Okay. So how do we access elements of a list? How do we access elements of a list? Let's use an example. We have my list, okay, which is A, B, C, D. This list contains values characters A, B, and C, D, which are string characters. So in lists, we access elements of a list using indices. The first element here in the list is at index 0. Okay, so this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. So if I want to access A, that's why I say my list or the name of the list that you have given it, then brackets 0. Okay. Okay. So then it brings A, which is the first element in the list. If I say my list 1, it brings B. Okay. If I am also interested in going a negative way, a negative side, rather than a positive side, this was a positive side, so a negative side that starts from this side. When you're starting from this side, going this side, then it starts from -1. So if I want D, I can say my list -1. So it brings D. So -1 also allows you to know what's at the end of the list. Okay, what's at the end of the list. Okay, so my list 1 to this, it gives you all elements starting from the first element going this side. My list 1 going back this side, it gives elements starting from the first element going big side, which gives you only 1. If you want to add an element in a list, you say my list 0 new. For example, I'm adding another component, which is something new. It can be maybe a book. Okay. So when I run my list, it gives me a book, B, and whatever. So those are the methods that I've said that you can do when modifying a list. So we can have a nested list. For example, here, if you have 1, 2, 3, but inside here, we have another list. Inside that list, we have another list. So this is a nested list. But how will this work? So that means this is 0, 1, 2, 3. Then this is 4. Okay. 4. 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3. This is 3. This is index 3. So if I want to access this, I say nest 3, it brings you that big list inside the list. If I want to access this target, that means it is 3, then 2, because inside this 3, which is here on the third element, there is other 0, 1, 2. Okay, so that's why we have 3 and 2. Okay, 3 and 2, it brings this list. If I want exact element in the second nested list, then I put 0, which is at index 0. Inside here, if I had something else here, target and another element, which is at index 2, maybe book. Okay, maybe book. Then here, if I want book, I would say 2. Okay. Oh, sorry, it's out of range. It's out of range. Okay. Shall check on that. Let's first say that. So then we can, in fact, this is 1 or 2. You run like that. So it brings you, because book is at index 1 inside this list of 2. Okay, so that is nested list. You will use this mostly when it comes to your deep learning and machine learning. So please go ahead and understand more lists. Tuples. A tuple is like a list. The only difference is that it is not mutable. Okay, so tuples are generally used when you need to store just 2 or 3 variables together, such as the X and Y values for a point, okay? So when you are dealing with static data that you don't need maybe to, that's not dynamic, you can use tuples. Tuples you use these brackets, not square brackets like we use it in, but the accessing tuples, etc, are the same as a list, except that for them, they are not mutable. For example, here when we are trying to add something new in the tuple object does not support item and assignment. So they are only immutable. A set. Sets, everyone knows a set here. A set is an ordered collection or with no duplicate elements. Basic uses include membership, testing, and eliminating duplicate entries. So you'd find an empty set by saying set set equals set, okay? So this is an empty set. S, if I have a variable S, if I run this, then it has an empty set. I can append the things in a set. It also has methods. If you press tab, you see very many methods: add, clear, intersection, union, all those elements of a set, difference of a set. So if you have different sets and you want to know the difference, the intersection, the disjoint, the etc, you can. So if I say add a value in a set, in my set, maybe I add 3 and I run this, I run this. So if I say S, you see in a set, I have a set which has 3 elements. So I can keep adding elements in a set. Another way you can define a set directly if it has elements by say B, maybe another set is called brackets, curly brackets, and you put elements in a set. So a set does not allow duplicates. For example, if you see here, we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, but when you print that set, it brings only unique elements, which is 1, 2, and 3. So go and find out all other elements by pressing S dot tab and look through all these elements, these functions of a set. A dictionary is, it will be especially useful in this course. If you are dealing with JSON files, etc, dictionary, you need to understand dictionary. It's a set of key value pairs where each key has a corresponding value. Just like a dictionary, real dictionary, each word, the key has a corresponding definition. If you want to understand the meaning of the word go, you go in the dictionary and look for go. So that go is a key and the meaning is a pair, is a value, okay? If you want to access phone book, you know someone's name is a key, and then the contact that you get when you find that name is a value. So that's how a dictionary works. So D brackets, a key and value. These can be of any type, can be integers, can be strings. So depending on what your dictionary is told. So this is key 1, this is key 2, okay? So if you display our dictionary, we have key 1 equals item 1, key 2 equals item 2, okay? Accessing elements in the dictionary, we use curly brackets, okay? We use square brackets. D key 1, and it brings you the item, which item 1. So if this was my contact, if a contact of someone, I'm searching from a phone book, I put the contact, then it brings me the value, which is the name of that person, okay? So dictionary has very many also methods. If my name of dictionary is D, then you can press D.tab and you see very many methods. For example, dictionary.keys, it helps us know the keys of dictionaries. So key 1 and key 2. Dictionary.values, it gives us only the items, 1, 2, so all the values. Dictionary.items, it gives us everything in the dictionary. Okay, a key and the item, a key and the item. Okay, so you can define your dictionary here and use it. Okay, for example, phone book equals maybe put it as a string, and comma, len 0, 7, 6, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is a dictionary of my phone book. Okay, so if I run this, then I call phone book. Then it brings you the dictionary of that. So to access Allan's contact, I have to say phone book, then I press the key, which is Allan, and it brings Allan's contact. You can add an element in dictionary by just simply saying phone book, Isaac equals 078994568. So when you run that, then now I display my phone book. My phone book. It has a new element, which is Isaac. So that's how a dictionary, a key and value pair. And doesn't mean that these should be strings. Depending on what you want to do, a dictionary should be a string. So Booleans is a form of data that is only two possible values, usually true or false. They are mostly commonly used in comparison operators. 1 greater than 2 is false, this greater than 3 is false, 1 greater or equal to 1, 1 less than or equal to this is true. So these are comparison operators where with less or equal, greater or equal, it is high equals this is false. Okay. So this is comparison operators. Then logical operators, those are and, or. So 1 greater than 2 and 2 greater than 3, this is false. So and all these are also used in when you are dealing with conditionals. You need to. So Python is like English. If you know the meaning of and you know the meaning of or, then it can work very well for you. Okay. So conditions, if, else, elif, and else statement. So here we use if, elif, not else if like we do in other programming languages, but elif. So an else statement. So if 1 is greater than 2, print yes, it's true. So this is the indent that I was talking about. Okay, in Python. So this, there is a condition, a colon, then inside this condition, there is a space here, which is a tab indent. So the condition is true. This is output if this condition is true. So this depends on this. Okay. So if 1 is greater than 2, print first, else print last. So suppose 1 was not less than 2, it would print last. But since 1 is less than 2, it will print this condition because it is met. Okay. If 1 is greater than 2, print first, else print. So in this That's why it is printing last, because this condition is false, then it will print else, which is true for this statement. Equality. So there's a difference between double equals and single equal. Double equals is for equality and single equal is for assignment. Okay. So when you are dealing with equality, if you are checking if this is equal to this, then you use double equals. Okay. So this is printing middle because only this is true. 3 equals 3 is true, is why it is printing this. So this if else conditions help you when you are dealing with conditional statements or conditions in your program. If it's rains today, I want to go to market, or else if it doesn't rain, I will go. If it rains today, I want the market. And if it is cloudy, I'll put on a jacket and I go to the market, something like that. All right. Then loops. Loops helps us in iteration of our programs. If you want to iterate through our programs, all these programs that we have been doing, they are not iterations. We run once and we again run again, we again run again. But if you want to run depending on a certain condition or a certain count, you want the program to run how many times, then you use loops. Okay. So for example, we have a list of items here. We can loop this using a for loop. For item or for X in items, in these items, print items. It loops through and prints all those items in a list. So loop is like a counter. That's why you see when you say for item in items, print well done. Okay, that means items has 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now these are 5 items in the list. So depending on the items that are in the list, it will loop those numbers. It will count, it gives a count of 5 and prints what you want to do. This means that if you have a program and you put it here, it will run the number of times you have specified for your program to run. Okay. For my thing in items, print my thing plus my thing. So that means it will keep on adding those numbers. 1 plus 1, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 1, then brings you to doubles those numbers and it calculates those numbers. Whatever you do for loops, you can do it for a while loop. Though a while loop has a different syntax or the for. So you see here we first have a initial value, which is 1, while that value is less than 5. So that means we want to loop this 5 times. Okay. So this is like a number of times we want to loop, then this is the initial value. If you want to start at 0, here we specify 0. Okay. While I less than 5, print this, then put an incrementer where we add that value. So if 1 is less than 5, yes, print it, then add 1 becomes 2, go back, check. If 2 is less than 5, yes, go and print and print and print. Because then 4 is less than 5, add 1, that means it has become I is equal to 5, but 5 is not less than 5, then it will terminate from there. So that is a while looping. We have another function which is range 5. Okay, range 5 prints numbers in range from 0 to 5. For I in range 5, print I, it prints 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Okay, so it prints 5 times. It iterates 5 times starting from 0. So we can put those elements in the list, that iteration in the list, range 5, then we list it with. Okay. Another element another thing which you shouldn't miss out, though I'm seeing I'm running out of time, but let me summarize, is list comprehension. Okay. Someone is asking why it is not printing 5 here. Okay, it's not printing 5 because it is range starts from 0. From 0, to 4, those are 5 times. Okay, so like I said, a loop is like an iterator. If you want 5 to be printed here, then we say range 6. So if you say for I in range 6 and run, then it will print your 5. Okay, so if you're interested in 5, then you do range 6. So x equals this. This is a list. We have a list x, which is a list of numbers from 1 to 4. Then new x equals empty list. Okay, we have an empty list here. So for item in x, new x dot append item. So I need to add the square of these elements in x to the new list, new x, which is being done here. New x dot append item, each item here squared, and it will print for me this. So you can see this is taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. But with list comprehension, this can be done in a single line like this by saying item squared for item in X, and to do for you the same. It will do for you some magic. So you should try using a list comprehension, because it will help you have a simple code, and it takes less processor. So when you are dealing with a lot of coding, I would advise that this method works better for you. So functions, we have seen functions like print, but we can define our own functions. How? A function is defined by def, then the name of the function, then the parameters. You can put a doc string here, which is the documentation of your function, what it's doing. Then a function, you print the function, or you have a return statement. For example, here, we have a function which is calculating the square of numbers. So a function is like a formula or a method. If they tell you to add 2 numbers, you say x is equal to 1, x is equal to 2, then you input those numbers or values, then you get the output. So we have a function here, define square, then we pass a parameter x, put a colon. Then we return x squared. So if you run this, it doesn't output anything because it's just a method. How do we call this function? We call this function square equals square, the same name of a function here, which is here, okay? Then we pass in parameter 2. So that means this 2 will come where x is and come here, it's 2 squared. Then when we print square, it prints that square, okay? For example, if I have a function to add 2 numbers, and I say define add x comma y, that function is taking 2 parameters. Then I say return x plus y, okay? X plus y. So when I do this, then I call that function and I say add x, I put 3, y, I put 7. 3 plus 7 gives me 10. So this is a function, then this is a function call. So you need to learn well how to use functions. They are so important in modular programming, in programming modules or scripting. So, so even print function was done this way, but it was saved as a module, which is called. So this function also, you can save it as a module somewhere, then you call it or you import it. So Lambda expressions. Other than using functions, some people may be interested in using Lambda expressions. Like we saw here, other than people using these methods, they can use list comprehension. Okay. So Lambda functions, this is our function, like we've seen, if you call it. So a Lambda function also is a Lambda variable colon x equals var squared. So it's like somebody saying x equals x squared. X equals x squared. So this is someone saying that. So the same as this function, you can use Lambda's function. Where do Lambda functions help? Lambda functions here, if we come to map and filter, map applies a function to all items in the input list. Suppose you have a sequence of items, then you can map them with the function. You map times 2 times 2 was our function. You remember? Was our function here, times 2, which is returning a square of numbers. So we map that function and this sequence. Okay. If you map that function, that means each item in this sequence, it will be squared based on that function. So when you print a list of that mapping, it brings you this output. Okay. You can also map the lambda. Instead of calling the other function, you put directly lambda variable equal to var squared, then your sequence. So you do it directly in one code rather than calling the other function. Okay, rather than calling the other function, then it does the same. Filter, as a name suggests, filter creates a list of elements for which a function returns true. Okay, for example, here, this list we filter lambda item, where item, when it's divisible by 2, gives us a remainder of 0. So in our sequence, it will bring 2 and 4. Remember, our sequence 2 and 4, they are the only ones which are even. So if you are interested in getting out only even numbers, we do this, we do filter using the lambda function, we apply it on that sequence, and it is able to bring you this. Great. Some other methods on strings. If you have a string, st equal to hello, my name is Lynn, and a new student, a new Python student. st.lower, it gives us into a lowercase. st.upper puts all this string in the uppercase, like you've seen. st.split, string.split, split method splits all the string items by one. So this is helpful when it comes to text mining, for those of you who are interested in text mining. For example, if you have a tweet and it go sports, hash sports, so this is a hashtag, hash sports. If you want split, tweet.split, I want split by a hash. So I specify hash, so you can see go sports and sports, they are split based on the hash. Okay. So if you say split hash, then 1, that means that sports is coming because of 1. So that's the end of this Python crash course. Well done, great job. By now, you should be happy because you are becoming a Python programmer. In case you want some exercises, I will be sharing them, and you'll find a Python crash course exercises that can help you more understand about what is Python. With that, I can receive questions. Thank you very much for attending.